Hi, I'm Nick Shell with FamilyFriendlyDaddyBlog.com. That's a blog, that's my daddy blog that I run. You can check out that, or you can also watch these videos, which are the extension of that brand. So I want to share with you this article I found in theatlantic.com today. It's called "Why Do Cartoon Villains Speak in Foreign Accents?" And in this article, they use The Lion King as the prime example. You have Jafar, who has a British accent, and even the hyenas, they have foreign accents to what is mainstream American accent. The hyenas either have an African American dialect or they have some kind of like Latino accent. So the concept is that subliminally, when children hear these voices, oh, it's British, it's Latino, it's African American, it's not suburban American accent. Oh, okay. That they're outsiders, they're the bad guys. And it's not a coincidence. They break down several movies, many of them being Disney movies, but plenty of kids movies in which the bad guy has a foreign accent. The villain has a foreign accent. And again, it's to tap into this psychological concept that they are outsiders, those villains with their accents that are not mainstream American. They're outsiders, they don't belong here, they're not part of us. I think that's fascinating. I never thought about that. So thanks to theatlantic.com for that article. I want to fuse that together with something else I'm very familiar with. Don't know if it's currently on Netflix, but back about a year ago, I watched a Netflix documentary called, it was called Do I Sound Gay? And on the thumbnail, it has someone's, like a guy sticking out his tongue and it's like a rainbow flag. Well, fascinating. It's made by a guy who is gay, and he talks about the perceived phenomenon why so many men who are gay talk the same way. They have that certain accent, as he calls it. And so he interviews lots of men who are gay, and it turns out a lot of gay men, when they were, in first grade, had to go to speech class because they had a certain type of lisp. And so he talks about how that happens. It's fascinating. I really enjoyed it. Something he points out in his documentary, though, is how throughout Hollywood, throughout history, a lot of the times, especially before people would even really openly talk about the fact that homosexual people exist, the villains were portrayed as homosexuals. The way they talked, the way they even kind of carried themselves, he does a good job of breaking it down and explaining that. But it's kind of that same concept that we can't openly say, hey, we don't want foreigners here. Hey, we don't feel okay with people who are gay. It was this concept that instead of openly talking about it, they were casting that upon the villains in movies. So whether it was these movies or whether it's in more recent cartoons that we even see in Disney, now that I know this, I can't unsee it. I can't unknow it. Because even now, like, okay, let's take, for example, The Lion King or Aladdin. In both of those movies, I feel, once you're looking for it, you'll see that the villains, Jafar and Scar, not only don't they both have, I think, a British accent compared to everyone else who mainly has American accents. Not only do they have a British accent, but also the way they carry themselves seems to be portraying that they have mannerisms of a homosexual male. There's this certain effeminate quality to both of them that I can't unsee now that I've seen it. And I was also watching this other YouTuber who was talking about how even a lot of gay men identify with Ursula from the Little Mermaid. That it's assumed that she's a lesbian, and then even she is this avatar for the gay community. So it's not a coincidence that so many villains, especially Disney villains, they have gay qualities about them, and many of them also have some sort of foreign accent. So now that you know this, you can't unsee it. I don't think this is easy to disagree with. I think it's not easy to disagree with this, because once you start going back and thinking about it, it's like, no, it's not a coincidence. Because we're talking about movies that, were 80s, 90s, or before that. Now that we're in the 2000s, and it's all about accepting people. Like in Frozen, or is it Frozen? It's the new live action Beauty and the Beast Disney did, right? And they're like, okay, this is the first openly gay character. But see, now though, mainstream America is becoming more comfortable with the gay community. So now they want to be, oh yeah, we're cool with it. But if you go back in their history, you'll see how many of their villains it was insinuated that they were gay. And the whole concept of, man, the villains having a foreign accent. So it's funny because that's so against modern day culture in America now. Now it's all about accepting our differences, our ethnic differences, our national differences, where we came from. We're Americans now, you know, and we're not going to say whether people can get married or not, or whether a business can make them a cake and all this stuff. That's relevant now. But we can look to just the 90s and see that there were these undertones, there were these movie tropes, just like, and I'm very familiar with movie tropes. I love being made aware of movie tropes. For example, if you see a villain drinking milk, it's to serve as an ironic symbol that they're not pure. Check that out. There are certain movie tropes, like in every movie, Brad Pitt is always eating junk food. He's snacking all the time. And it's a way to make him look more human because he's so good looking and perfect. Well, let's show him snacking. There's another one, for some reason, Tom Cruise has to be sprinting in every single movie. Tom Hanks has to be peeing in every single movie. Check it out. This is a real thing. So I'm fascinated by movie tropes. But now this one's a bit dark. This is uncomfortable. But I think it's important to discuss it so that we can be aware of it, that Hollywood has a history of making villains either to be assumed, at least closet gays, and or foreigners to what the American mainstream accent is. What do you think about this? I mean, this isn't a coincidence. It was designed that way on purpose. But now we're woke.